When legends became lies, the stories that shaped the world. For thousands of years, humanity has told stories to explain the unknown. Before science, before astronomy, before medicine, there were myths. These stories were powerful. They shaped civilizations, guided rulers, and controlled entire populations. But how many of these ancient myths were actually true? And how many were simply misunderstood history? This is Ancient Myths Debunked. Why humans created myths. Early humans did not understand earthquakes, eclipses, or disease. When the ground shook, they believed gods were angry. When the sun disappeared, they believed the sky was being eaten. When plague spread, they believed curses were at work. Myths were humanity's first attempt at science. They were not lies. They were guesses. But those guesses became religions, and those religions became power. The myth of angry gods. One of the most common ancient myths was that gods controlled everything. Rain, drought, war, and famine were all blamed on invisible beings. Priests claimed they could speak for these gods. That made them powerful. If a king wanted to rule, he claimed divine approval. If a priest wanted obedience, he claimed divine punishment. This is how myths became tools of control. The sun and moon myths. Many ancient cultures believed the sun and moon were gods. Eclipses terrified entire civilizations. The Maya believed a jaguar was eating the sun. The Chinese believed a dragon was devouring it. The Vikings believed wolves were chasing the sky. Today we know the truth. Eclipses are caused by orbital mechanics, not monsters. This is the power of ancient myths debunked. Flood myths across the world. Nearly every civilization tells the story of a great flood. Noah. Utnapishtim. Manu. Deucalion. Different names. Same story. For centuries, people believed a global flood destroyed humanity. Modern geology tells a different story. There were massive regional floods at the end of the Ice Age. These disasters were real, but they were not supernatural. Myths were created to remember trauma. Giants, dragons, and monsters. Ancient people believed in giants and dragons. Why? Because they found massive bones. Dinosaur fossils. Mammoth skulls. Ancient whales. Without science, these remains became monsters. Dragons were born from fossils. Giants were born from skeletons. Fear filled the gaps in knowledge. Lost knowledge and forgotten technology. Many ancient myths speak of advanced civilizations. Flying machines. Powerful weapons. Cities that vanished. Some of these stories are exaggerated. But some are based on truth. Ancient cultures built pyramids, canals, and machines that still amaze us today. They were not magical. They were brilliant. Why myths still control us? Even today, myths have power. People still fear the unknown. People still look for divine answers. But science now gives us something better. Truth. Understanding. Evidence. This is why ancient myths debunked matters. The legend of Atlantis. One of the most famous stories in human history is Atlantis. A powerful, advanced civilization. A city of gold and crystal. A society destroyed in a single day and night. The story comes from the Greek philosopher Plato. For centuries, people believed Atlantis was only a myth. But what if Plato was describing something real? This is where Ancient Myths Debunked becomes truly fascinating. Plato's secret source. Plato did not invent Atlantis. He claimed the story came from ancient Egyptian records. These records described a great civilization that existed thousands of years before Greece. Modern archaeology shows something shocking. There really were advanced coastal civilizations that disappeared under the sea. The end of the Ice Age. About 12,000 years ago, the Earth warmed rapidly. Glaciers melted. Sea levels rose. Entire coastlines vanished. What used to be land is now ocean. Cities were drowned. This explains why Atlantis has never been found on land. It may be underwater. Underwater cities. Modern sonar and satellite scans have revealed strange structures beneath the ocean. Stone walls. Rectangular foundations. Road-like patterns. Some of these have been found near the Mediterranean, the Caribbean, the coast of India. These discoveries suggest ancient cities were lost to rising seas. The myth of sky gods. Ancient cultures all over the world described gods who came from the sky. The Egyptians had Ra. The Sumerians had the Anunnaki. The Mayans had Kukulkan. The Hindus had flying gods in Vimanas. Were these really gods? Or were they misunderstood technology? This question lies at the heart of Ancient Myths Debunked. Ancient flying machines. Indian texts describe Vimanas, flying vehicles made of metal. They could move up and down, forward and backward, and even go into space. For a long time, scholars dismissed this as fantasy. But today, engineers are shocked by how technical these descriptions are. They include fuel systems, navigation, weapons, control panels. These texts read more like blueprints than poetry. The Nazca lines. In Peru, massive drawings cover the desert. They are so large they can only be seen from the air. Why would ancient people create artwork for the sky? Some say they were for gods. Others believe they were runways, maps, or signals. Whatever the truth, they show advanced planning and engineering. Stone Age technology was not primitive. We often imagine ancient people as simple. That is a mistake. They built stone temples aligned with the stars. Cities with plumbing. Roads that lasted thousands of years. They did not have electricity. But they had knowledge. What we lost. When civilizations collapse, knowledge is lost. Libraries burn. Languages disappear. Science is forgotten. This is how technology becomes myth. This is how history becomes legend. This is the hidden truth behind Ancient Myths Debunked. Pyramids, gods, and forgotten science. The greatest stone mysteries on Earth. Across the planet, massive pyramids rise from the ground. Egypt, Mexico, China, Sudan, Indonesia. These structures are older than most recorded history. For centuries, people believed slaves built them with simple tools. But modern science says that story is wrong. This is another truth revealed by Ancient Myths Debunked. The impossible precision. The Great Pyramid of Giza is aligned to true north with astonishing accuracy. Its base is level within inches across hundreds of feet. The stones weigh up to 80 tons. Even modern cranes struggle to lift them. Yet ancient builders moved and placed them with perfect precision. This was not primitive engineering. This was advanced science. Lost construction knowledge. The Egyptians did not write down how the pyramids were built. Why? Because that knowledge was considered sacred. When priesthoods collapsed, the science was lost. This is how engineering became myth. Pyramids as power plants. Some researchers believe pyramids were more than tombs. They may have been energy collectors, sound amplifiers, electromagnetic generators. The shape of the pyramid focuses natural forces. Inside the Great Pyramid, there are strange chambers that do not match burial purposes. Something else was happening there. The gods were teachers. Ancient gods were often described as bringers of knowledge. The Sumerian gods taught writing. The Egyptian gods taught architecture. The Mesoamerican gods taught astronomy. These beings were not just worshipped. They were instructors. This is why ancient texts describe gods giving blueprints, not blessings. The Eye of Horus and sacred geometry. Symbols like the Eye of Horus contain mathematical ratios. Ancient temples follow sacred geometry. These were not religious decorations. They were scientific diagrams. Ancient people encoded knowledge into art. Why history was changed. When new religions rose, old knowledge was erased. Libraries were destroyed. Temples were burned. Engineers became heretics. What survived were the stories. The science was lost. This is why gods replaced scientists. What we are rediscovering. Modern physics now speaks of energy fields, vibrations, resonance. Ancient builders already knew this. They used stone, shape, and sound to control energy. This is the forgotten science behind ancient myths debunked. Monsters, dragons, and giants exposed. Where did monsters come from? Every ancient civilization believed in monsters. Dragons. Giants. Serpents. Beasts of unimaginable size. People were certain these creatures once ruled the earth. But Ancient Myths Debunked reveals a far more fascinating truth. The power of fossils. Long before paleontology existed, humans found enormous bones. They had no idea what dinosaurs were. So they invented stories. A Tyrannosaurus skull became a dragon. A mammoth skeleton became a giant. A whale rib became a sea serpent. Myths were created to explain fossils. Why dragons exist in every culture. China. Europe. India. Mesoamerica. All speak of dragons. That is no coincidence. Dinosaurs existed on every continent. Their bones were discovered everywhere. The dragon is the memory of a real creature. Giants were never human. Many ancient stories describe giant humans. But no giant human skeletons have ever been found. Instead, we find mammoths, mastodons, ancient bears. Their bones were misinterpreted. Ancient people did not lie. They guessed. Sea monsters explained. Ancient sailors feared creatures like the kraken. They described massive tentacles dragging ships into the sea. Today we know giant squid exist. Some grow longer than a bus. Again, myth was born from reality. The fear of the unknown. Ancient humans lived in a dangerous world. Predators. Storms. Earthquakes. Their fear created monsters. But monsters gave them something to fight. This is the psychology behind myth. How stories became religion. When fear mixes with imagination, legends grow. Over generations, monsters became gods. Gods became demons. Demons became evil forces. The original truth was forgotten. Science rewrites the past. Today, fossils tell us what really lived. We can see what those ancient bones truly were. The monsters were real, but not magical. This is the truth behind Ancient Myths Debunked. The final truth of ancient history. Why myths never died. If myths are not true, why do they survive? Because myths carry memory. They preserve disasters, lost knowledge, ancient experiences. When writing did not exist, stories were the only way to record history. This is the core message of Ancient Myths Debunked. Myths are time capsules. A dragon is a dinosaur fossil. A god from the sky is forgotten technology. A global flood is a rising sea. These stories were never meant to deceive. They were meant to remember. Religion replaced science. In ancient times, knowledge belonged to priests. When empires fell, only belief survived. Equations became prayers. Science became worship. Teachers became gods. This is how truth became myth. Why ancient knowledge was hidden. Some knowledge is dangerous. Energy. Astronomy. Engineering. Rulers did not want the people to have it. So knowledge was sealed in temples and symbols. This is why ancient art looks mysterious. It is coded. We are rediscovering the past. Today, lasers map pyramids. Satellites scan ruins. DNA reads ancient history. The past is no longer silent. It is speaking again. This is the final revelation of Ancient Myths Debunked. The Great Awakening. We are not the first advanced civilization. We are the next one. Humanity has risen before. It fell. And now it rises again. The truth behind every legend. Every myth has a core of truth. Behind every god is a teacher. Behind every monster is a fossil. Behind every legend is history. This is the ultimate message of Ancient Myths Debunked. The end, or the beginning. The ancient world was not primitive. It was powerful. And now, its secrets are finally being revealed. Ancient Myths Debunked has only just begun. Globe showing Europe Africa sparkles.